it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, well, they might have gone a lot better. Suffice it to say, the adventure this cotton load provided me really wasn't worth it. You'll have to watch the whole video to see the details why, but here's the short version if you don't want to watch the whole thing. Number one, before you do any seed load, make sure you understand how it's being loaded, whether it's palletized, in totes, or in some other capacity contained. If it's floor load, well, you better hope that they're bringing a vacuum and an air compressor to clean your trailer out afterward, because otherwise you're going to have some fun. And then number two, if you own the trailer and you do a floor load, seed load of any sort, you've got some cleanup to do afterward. You're going to be picking seed out of crevices and cracks, and if you have a trailer like mine where you have the vertical E-tracks about every foot or so, that's a lot of crevices and cracks that you're going to be picking seed out of to be able to do your next load, because you might end up having a situation where it's food grade. You got to make sure you're clean and ready to rock and roll in a food grade capacity, and I don't think a seed load is going to be that, because I'm sure that for some food grade shippers, any kind of cotton fiber material left over from the seed pod is just not going to fly for them. And then number three, make sure that if you are doing a load that is a floor load and it's seed and you are taking time to clean up, make sure you don't have your next load booked up right away afterward, because you need time to clean your trailer out in order to make sure you're not going to be leaving residue of your previous load at your next shipper out of courtesy to that shipper. So yeah, it's just not fun. I mean, yes, it was worth it, sort of, for the experience, because now I know I will never do one of these loads ever again. Because the fourth thing to think about is, if you want to do a floor load seed, as freight in any capacity, my advice would be to make sure that the trailer you're pulling is not the only trailer you have to work with. Like, it's a trailer you don't mind dedicating. This is now a seed load trailer, and you just use that exclusively for that purpose from then on. So you've got a fleet of trailers to work with, whether you've got 3, 4, 50, 60, 100, whatever it is. Like, if you're going to be doing seed load in a non-contained capacity, you want a trailer that is able, either designed for it, like a hopper of some sort, or if it's a van like mine, that's just what it is, because I'm going to be picking cotton out of this trailer for the remainder of the time I own it, almost a guarantee. Anyway, watch the rest of the video. That is cotton seed being blown into my trailer. How's it going, YouTube? Welcome to a cotton seed facility. Won't say where. Probably shouldn't be recording here, to be honest with you, just out of deference to the facility itself, so I'll not wander around their facilities too much. But suffice it to say, this is an extremely unusual load, and it ought to be very interesting to see how it all shakes out, literally and figuratively. Just get back in the truck here and out of the way of these guys so we don't have any safety problems. Because, well, it's cottonseed. Now, I don't know a whole lot about cottonseed. I've hauled raw cotton before in collected bales, but never seed. I'm used to hauling seed in some kind of palletized tote option or skid option, or whatever, but I've never hauled raw material of any sort just blown into the back of my trailer. I mean, I've hauled bales of recycled material, like recycled paper or baled cardboard or baled aluminum to go to recycling plants. That's fairly typical, as it were, but never just had raw material blasted into my trailer like this. So it's an adventure. I've heard tell that when they unload these trailers, They're essentially using a very large vacuum just to grab all the material out of there, and then they get in there with more vacuums or blowers, and they just take everything out of the different crevices, or the logistics tie down points, the E-tracks and things of that nature, just to make sure they get all the material out of the trailer. Because my experience hauling aluminum and paper is that they would do the same thing. They would, when the bales were out of the truck, whether it was aluminum product of some sort or paper product of some sort, then you'd go in and you gather the residual mess out, dust, grit, grime, shredded bits of paper, aluminum, whatever ends up being, and you sweep the trailer out, so you're leaving with your next load ready situation, good to go. But having hauled materials that have broken, well, not so much broken, but having some sort of powdered material leak in my trailer before I know that there's enough nooks and crannies that there are potential issues with some things just kind of sticking in and being hard to get out. So hopefully this won't end up being a problem down the road, but I think it's going to be okay. This is what 43,000 pounds of floor-loaded cottonseed looks like. It looks like a mess. I sure hope the scales don't mind me, because yeah, this is gonna be an adventure. All right, here we go. All right, friends, I'm here at the cottonseed unload, and that, if you can see it, is what's gonna happen to my truck. They're gonna lift it up to do the dump, and then I get to sweep out after the fact when they're done. Gotta admit, I am extremely nervous about this process about to be happening to my truck. Also means I've got to put a bunch of stuff down to make sure that I don't have issues with stuff flopping around, falling over, having problems during the dump phase. Yeah. Well, when I figured this load would be an adventure, I certainly was not wrong at all. I'm next in line for this unloading procedure, and I'll show what I can from the back of this endeavor. Okay, I see how this works. See, I've seen these tipping devices before in different capacities. Mostly I've seen them in certain waste applications, or actually, yeah, mostly garbage and recycling applications, where they do these giant tip unload situations to make them work. But I've never seen them up close like this. This is actually kind of fun. That's the plate that's coming up now, is the plate into which the seed will drop when they do the tip. Into the valley of death, road 600. Not quite. Snug. I can't help myself. I gotta watch this initial tip. Here we go. This is both utterly fascinating and absolutely terrifying at the exact same moment. But they do this all day, every day, it feels like, so I shouldn't really worry. But this is just new and scary. Getting up to around 20 degrees now. I really hope stuff isn't falling all over the inside of my truck, but I will find out the hard way when all is said and done. Now to get the rear view. So this is the aftermath of a cotton seed load, pardon me, in a dry van. Now, on the face of it doesn't look too bad until you remember that I've got all these vertical E-tracks. Now I've got seed and fluff and whatever else in my vertical tracks. And that is going to be not fun to deal with. But I made the bed, time to lie in it. This right here, this spot right here, this is the only dry spot left on this shirt after spending 2.5, 3 hours picking cotton out of the back of my trailer. Could probably wring this thing out. That'd be too disgusting though. But look at, yeah, the perils of unsecured cotton loads. All right, so my final thoughts on the revenge of Cotton Eye Joe. Overall, once again, as I said at my start of the video, not worth it. In terms of the money I was paid to haul the load, and in terms of the time it took after the load was delivered to return my trailer to a condition where I would feel confident that if I was to go to a shipper that they would not reject it on the basis of, you know, being dirty or, you know, not wanting to have the fiber material left over from the cotton seed, casing, wrapping, whatever you call it. I have no idea of the anatomy of a cotton seed. I just know that there is, the core of a cotton seed is a hard-shelled typical seed. However, it is wrapped in essentially cotton, very thin cotton fiber strands, either to help it you know, fly away from the blossom when it's time for the seed pods to, you know, scatter so that the next plant can take root and grow, or, you know, if that's just the way cotton is. Regardless, I honestly have no idea. I know very little, honestly quite nothing about the cotton plant overall. I just know that the next time I look to haul a seed load, it's not going to be a floor load situation. I'm never going to do a floor load seed situation ever again, or a floor load anything that is that small and hard to clean up after ever again. Because I mean, I spent 3 hours in my trailer picking cotton seeds out of my E-tracks, out from behind my my scuff liners, my extra thicker scuff liners in the bottom, and that experience has showed me that maybe it may not be a bad idea to tear those, just, you know, get those scuff liners out, just get rid of them, because while they are doing a good job in terms of keeping forklifts perhaps from going through the sidewall of the trailer, and keeping the paneling above the actual built-in scuff liner from taking additional damage more than it should, The sad reality is that it's very easy for very small materials like seeds or salt, sugar, anything pulverized or powdered to get back in between the scuff liner and the trailer wall. So because there's a gap there that can fill in, and cleaning that out is a colossal problem. And I'm extremely hesitant right now to get my trailer into a wash bay and have the interior washed out, because I have no idea just how many cotton seeds are still trapped inside, between the scuff liner and the wall. And the last thing I want is to suddenly have cotton blossoms growing in my trailer. That would be a problem. I don't think that would actually happen. But I also don't believe that washing my trailer out right this very moment or anytime soon, until I've had a chance to blast it out a few more times with my leaf blower, I don't think that would be a good idea, just because there's a really good chance that the working of the trailer, as the whole thing kind of shakes, rattles, and rolls down the road here over my next few loads, there's a really good chance a lot of that cotton seed that's still trapped in there might end up working loose, and I can just kind of start getting it out that way. And I may end up taking my scuff liners out, because what that would do is that would open up more floor space, an extra 1/2 inch each side for skids, which may end up allowing me to do aluminum can loads should they end up coming my way on the different load boards that I'm working with right now. It also may be one of those things where, because they're really not, they're not exactly, they're working to a point, but considering the condition they're in some cases, like with this seed load, they're really more of a hindrance than a help, because what they're doing right now, more than anything, is they're trapping material between the liner and the wall. And I'm hoping that will not end up being a problem down the road, but I also need to take that into account and consider my options when it comes to cleaning that out. And also, if I'm going to do more palletized loads of powdered or pulverized product, which I'm sure I will, whether it's sugar, salt, flour, anything that's granular in any capacity, there's a likelihood that I just have to assume there's going to be a likelihood that some of that material, whether it's going to be small bags on a skid, 50-pound bags on a skid, or giant soft shell totes containing this product, are going to break open, or will come onto my truck damaged, or through just me hitting bumps and on the way down the highway, those containers, whatever size they are, may end up starting to open, and then powderized, pulverized product will then end up on my trailer floor, and then it will get under that scuff liner, and it will end up trapped between the trailer wall and the scuff liner. And depending on what kind of product that is, if it gets wet because water gets in when I back into a dock while it's raining horribly, or if there's a leak in my trailer that I haven't discovered yet, or whatever, now I've got an issue where I've got a potential situation of a rotting material potentially causing problems in the future. So I need to really consider the option of just getting rid of that scuff liner, because may not end up being more of a hindrance than a help in the long term. But again, just to circle back to the main point, loose seed load, don't do it. Unless you have a trailer that you are willing to dedicate to that particular method of freight transport, where you just don't care what happens to it, you don't care about material getting stuck in the different nooks and crannies, and you're just going to use that trailer exclusively for that kind of freight, and it's a drive-in, hey, more power to you. If you have that flexibility and you want to move that kind of freight, I'm not going to tell you not to, if you have the flexibility to make sure that that equipment you're going to be using is just going to be used for that purpose, and you don't have to really care about being flexible across multiple types of product. However, for me, it is a huge impediment. I only have one trailer, I only have one drive-in, I only have one means by which I transport freight at the time being, because I haven't yet gotten enough time with my authority in order to do power only work with carriers like JB Hunt, or maybe even Werner, or anyone else who may offer power only freight on a national level. So it's one of those things, flies in here, it's one of those things where valuable experience, a good lesson learned, a hard lesson learned, but now that I've learned the lesson, never again. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this entire saga, YouTube. I really do appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment on what you thought of the adventure. If you have any questions about it, I'll try to answer them. And with that being said, I will see you at long last down the road.